Hello, my name is Matt Cosby. I'm a narcotics officer in the great state of Texas. A year and a half ago, I was 248 pounds, 8% body fat. I was getting ready to receive my pro card as a bodybuilder. I was in the best shape of my life. Before becoming a police officer, I was an Army Ranger. I could post stats of my level of fitness and all that stuff. However, we would be here a lot longer than the allotted time. So, one night, my team and I were serving a narcotics warrant. I was the point man in the stack. It was dark and humid. It was so humid that your shirt would stick to your skin, and the air was very salty and balmy. As it started to rain, my breech man hit the door. He hit the door with a 35-pound breaching ram. He hit it so hard the door came off the frame. We were a go. We entered the house. "Police, search warrant! Let me see your hands!" I shouted. As the rest of the team piled into the house, the whole right side of my body went numb. I fought through the pain as my face, my arm, and my hand went completely numb. I thought I was having a stroke. All that went through my mind was, "Oh Lord, please don't let me die tonight." We finished serving the warrant and exited the house with the people that we had arrested and all the narcotics and money that we had seized. As I sat on the hood of my patrol vehicle, the EMS officer informed me that all my vitals were good and I wasn't having a stroke or a heart attack. But little did I know that that night would change the rest of my life. I went to the emergency room and was put through a gauntlet of tests, and nothing was found. I was told that I have a pinched nerve in my neck that caused all of this. It sounded right. It wouldn't be the first time I pinched a nerve in my back or my neck. My wife, who's a nurse, when I got home, I let her know about it, and she informed me that it was impossible for me to have a pinched nerve. If I had a pinched nerve, the rest of my body would react the same way, so my left side would be just as numb as my right side. I went to 2 more emergency room visits over the next 4 days, and finally my wife tells me, "Go to the VA." I told her, "There's no way I'm going to the VA. The VA is where old veterans go to die." So, 1 week later, my wife informed me that I had an appointment to see a doctor at the VA. And doing what my wife, the boss, told me to do, I went to the appointment. I was in front of the doctor for about 5 minutes when he tells me, "You have MS." I told him, and I don't like to use profanity, so, "You're crazy. There is no possible way I have MS. Only old people get MS." And I told him, "Doc, are you aware that I carry a gun for a living?" He informed me that I have MS, and he stood by his diagnosis. After all this, I went through a battery of tests and was officially diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. What is multiple sclerosis, you might ask? Multiple sclerosis is an autoimmune disease that affects millions of people throughout the world. Unfortunately for me, I fall into that statistic. MS affects your body's ability of your nerve cells in your brain and your spinal cord to communicate with each other effectively. Nerve cells communicate by sending electrical signals through action potentials down long fibers called axons, which are contained within an insulating substance called myelin. In MS, your body's own immune system attacks itself and eats itself away. Your nervous system looks like these wires. The rubber coating on them is what the myelin is. In someone who has MS's nervous system, it looks like this. The wires are bare, and they communicate with each other. There are 4 different forms of MS. You have relapsing remitting MS, secondary progressive MS, primary progressive MS, and progressive relapsing MS. I have relapsing remitting MS, which is the first stage of this disease. It's very controllable by medication. I receive a shot 3 times per week. This is the second medication that I've been on. The first medication that I was on, I received a very, very painful shot in my rear once a week with a needle about this long. So you can imagine turning around and giving yourself a shot in your butt. Lucky for me, my wife was a nurse and she gave it to me most of the times, but ouch, can you imagine that? What led to the diagnosis of my MS? I kind of went through it in the beginning. How many times I went to the emergency room, going to the VA hospital, being thrown through a gauntlet of tests. The battery of tests that the doctors that I had sent me through were incredible. I had 3 MRIs, 2 different times, 14 files of blood taken many times, and a procedure that was very, very, I enjoyed it, and I recommend that everybody gets this. The only people in this room that would have any idea what I'm talking about would be women. It's called a spinal tap. Now, when I saw the needle, I looked at this lady that was getting ready to give me the spinal tap, and I told her, "You got to be crazy to think you're going to put that thing in my back, lady." And she laughs and tells me with a very, very deep Southern accent, "Son, I can put this needle in your back. I can put this needle in your butt. Either way, I got to get a sample." So I elected to have it in my back. It wasn't very nice. Now, how I've learned to cope with the challenges that are associated with MS. Over the past year and a half, I've gone through different treatments, different medications, till they found what was right for me. I went through a phase of denial, depression, a feeling that I had just been handed a death sentence. So I did a lot of research on my own through the MS Association and other places, and finally I decided that I will own my disease. I own my MS. This will not be a death sentence. I will not let this disease define who I am. I am going to define my disease. I had to learn what my triggers were and what my symptoms were when I was having an exacerbation. The biggest issue with this disease is that it's heat activated. That's one of the biggest issues. And I live in South Texas, in San Antonio. You remember for the past few years, January, July, August, we have 110 plus degree weather with 80% plus humidity, and I'm wearing a ballistic vest. So you can just imagine. I thank you for listening to the first part of this, and I'm sure that it went over the 5 minutes.